probably one of the worst offensive. You could have honestly thought Enos was coaching the team. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, we would stall out, or the referees would magically call a timeout to like reset the clock a couple times, or they're reviewing too many players on the field, and they'll turn around and review targeting 2-3 plays later. It was just a cluster of what's going on here. And not only that, mixed in with the rain and the weather, it just was a bad day. It was a really bad night for a football game, man. It was very sloppy on both sides, and not necessarily sloppy in turnovers, but just sloppy game, the boring brand of football to watch. And you don't expect that when you have a Miami team on the field, especially the Miami team that had shown itself the first 3 or so weeks of the season. We all knew we weren't going to sustain that, for 11, 12 games, let's just be honest. But at least something close to it. I mean, if I showed you the first 2 plays and then showed you the final score, you would say, did De'Aaron King get hurt? Knock on wood. And, did you start a freshman? Or what happened? I mean, in my film review, I'm just literally, and thank God Coach Blake Baker and the defense played the way that they did, because time management, miscues, De'Aaron King not reading correctly, some of the things, Mark, that was a glaring issue. UAB were some of the same glaring issues UVA. And that's unacceptable. That's 7 weeks apart from each other. Still, I mean, yes, the wide receivers did a very good job. Very happy to see Mike Harley, even after those comments. It was afterward, he said that. But now looking back and rewatching a couple times, it's really nice to see them respond. It shouldn't take something like that to respond. Like the portion of the show that I did catch last night with you all, so impactful. That's just a life lesson you want to take. Anything you do, if your name is attached to it, you want to give the best that you can. Period. That's why I have Wholesome One Holloway. That's why I go by my last name, because it's a constant reminder of who and what I represent. I'm not representing Dwayne. I'm representing the Holloway family as a whole, anything that I do. And to know that there's young men out here with Power 5 scholarships who think it's okay to just show up and do exactly what Coach says do, and I'll be ready on Saturday. Not only is that a bad mindset to be a good football player, let alone talk about great and elite on the top tier. That's a bad mindset as a person, as a human being, to think that it's just okay to go through life, because then you're going to be 30, 40, and you're going to look back and go, man, I wish I would have. And that's one of the worst things you can say later on. And one of the worst feelings is, I wish I would.
Absolutely.
I wish I could have.
Absolutely.
And man, it just was really bad. My film session that I did, it was so much more defensive plays and explaining what went wrong. Just trying to explain to people why we are not what the fans think we are. I mean, number one, 7 games in, Mark, I can honestly admit we are nowhere near as talented as originally thought. Nowhere. I think the fan base is finally understanding that star system stuff, it's really cool. It's nice. It's a really cool argument to have. Hey, we signed a 4-star and someone else signed a 3-star. Really cool. Yeah. Those young men have to come here and put in the same level of effort, if not more, and fit the system. And we also have to have coaches that it just goes together with. Okay, if you got someone who's just like, it's an amazing player, but he has a really subpar coach, and then they're running the Georgia Tech triple option, I mean, are they going to get a chance to show all of that what they can do? No, because it doesn't match up well. And man, it's hurtful to know, based on those comments of Mike Harley saying that isn't just a now problem, Mark. If he as a senior is saying that, how long has that been within our program? How long? And that's just wide receiver. So now that explains why Ahmad Rich's arms never got any bigger. Why? Because he wasn't going to the weight room, he didn't do anything extra. You wonder why Lawrence Cager couldn't catch a common cold He can't. He's not putting in any extra effort. You wonder why KJ Osborne transfers from Buffalo, Mark, and is our best offensive player. Why? Because he's used to putting in that effort. And that was the first time we saw any videos of our wide receivers catching balls after practice on a jug machine. And that's why I always try to explain to people, Mark, the biggest thing is these young men have to want it. You want to create an environment, yes. The coach wears a certain burden, yes. But as you saw, when a player makes up in his mind, I am prepared to take over a football game and make plays, you see what Mike Harley did. And that's all I ever try to, that's among other things, that I try to explain to people, is that it's an individual effort to put in that extra. I'm not dropping the football if you throw it to me. I'm going to be in a position. I can't promise that I'm going to be open because it may be really good coverage. But best believe if you give me a chance, I'm going to put my best effort to attack this football at a high point. And we just haven't had that in decades. And unfortunately, Mike Harley will always be the face attached to that. But now there was an actual voicing of a big problem in this program for as long since Butch Davis decided to take the Browns job over staying at Miami. Those three other programs have been building for decades, have been putting things together to get to that point. And that's what I have to understand is, yeah, we could have one really good year. We could have one good recruiting class. But when you run up into those big boys, it isn't about being scared, Mark. It isn't about not taking advantage of the moment. It's understanding this is a program. That means that from the bottom all the way to the top, they have the same mindset, and they've been doing this for years, filtering in and out. This is what we do here. If you're at Clemson and you're a wide receiver, this is what we do. You're a defensive end, this is what we do. This is how we do it. And we haven't had anything like that. And Mark Richt walked in and was like, what is this? I mean, you all don't have facilities? You have 5 national championships, you don't have a facility? You don't have multiple weight rooms? You don't have a track? Like, what is this? You all don't have uniforms that you wear? We didn't even have, listen to this, Mark. We didn't even have workout T-shirt and shorts. We only had T-shirts. You had to wear whatever shorts you wanted to wear. A true program from the bottom all the way to the top of how you do things. This is how you stretch. This is how you do, our warm-up sprints. This is what we do when we sound and when we clap. And, Ohio State does a little hoo, ha, whatever thing they do. That's how you do things. You build a foundation and you build on top of that, on top of that, on top of that, on top of that. And we just, never mind the administration not wanting to have a football program. And that's like top tier, because they want to be the Harvard of the South, which is cool. Hey, their goal is to cure cancer. So that would be an amazing thing worldwide. The University of Miami was able to do that. But can we please get a little bit of that money that we work to build the school with, put into our program? That would really help. Not sorry. There's some things that just need to be said. I'm not calling into any individual, principal so-and-so or dean so-and-so or coach so-and-so. But there's a lot of things that we got to get fixed, man, if we ever want to get back. Because, Mark, something that I was having a conversation with one of the former players up here is, football isn't just lining up and playing ball anymore at the highest level. If you're a fast wide receiver, it isn't about the fact that you can just snap the ball. I'm faster than this corner, throw it out there, and I run up under it. It's become a science. It's become a real way that they break things down, even to sports psychology and how you mentally are prepared for this game week in and week out. Mentally prepared for practice. Sports science, as far as how we're working out, how we're lifting. For the first time, our players look kind of similar to everyone else's players. For the longest, we wanted to be little quick guys. We had defensive tackles that are 265 pounds, or defensive ends who are 230. And, not saying that you got to be this fine, not, 6'5", 275 to play on my field. No, you don't have to be that. But there's just a way that if you're in a program, I mean, Mark, you see these pictures of players when they first walk in, all the way to their last day, whether it's to the NFL or it just happens to be their last senior day, something like that. They take a picture, and it's a completely night and day picture. It wasn't like that. And thank God for Coach Dave Feely, because, we're seeing turnaround within 8 months to a year of our players. Our redshirt players, you got a guy like John Ford, who's been here for 4 years. Jared Harrison Hunt has been a part of our program for a year and a half, and he's already getting more snaps than John Ford, who's been here for 4 years. Now, could that conversation be that one player is just better than the other? But how is it a guy that comes in at like 240, former basketball player, is pushing 280 and looks like a real interior lineman just 8 months to a year into a program, and you've been here for 4 years? I'll tell you how. Because the environment was not conducive to force these young men to get things right and get them in order, and especially in strength and conditioning, because it was really bad strength and conditioning going on there, and nutrition. But we're working on it, and that's the good part that I like, is moving forward. I think things are getting better, but we can't have those type of comments that Mike Harley said ever happen again. And thank him for saying it. I'm happy that he let it out. I'm happy that it's known now, that everybody understands it's been that bad for this long.